Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Hey chat, you wanna say hello?
Hey everyone, welcome back. Glad to be here again. Let's dive into whatever's next and keep the conversation rolling.
Yeah, what's another topic we could talk about?
Sure thing. Let's pick another topic. How about we chat about productivity habits or routines that have really made a difference for you lately? We could talk about any little rituals or hacks that help you stay on track with your goals, or anything else that's been boosting your focus or energy. Let me know if that sounds good, or if there's something else on your mind.
That's really good. Yeah, I could talk about that. That's a very good topic. That is a very, very good topic. Okay. So when I was 18 or 19 years old, I think it was 19 years old, I tried to become an entrepreneur. You know, getting out of college, because I was like, college is a waste of time, which it was, 100%. I told my friend today, if I had two resumes on the table, a kid that graduated top of his class from Stanford or a kid that completed Grant Cardone University, 10 out of 10 times I'd take the kid that did Grant Cardone University. And he's like, oh, that's 100%, I'd do the same thing. And it's like, I want more of that applied knowledge that actually is useful in the real world, right? So that's kind of why I dropped out of college. I just thought it was useless. I was a business entrepreneur major, and I'm like, this is a useless major. Switched to mechanical engineering. I'm like, this is insane. Physics is not fun. It hurts my head. And then I just left. And then I was like, okay, good. So then I tried to start my own business with no knowledge of anything. It was complete, utter failure. But what I learned was, what it takes to work for yourself. And so it was, as a 19-year-old, just overwhelmed with a lot of things. It was hard. There were some days where I couldn't even, get off the floor. Where I was like, trying to get self-started, and it was like I can't get going. I can't start anything. I can't do anything. And you had to like learn to work for yourself, which was very difficult to do for me, at least, to go from structured in school to then being an entrepreneur, right? And so you kind of learned that as a real estate agent when I got licensed when I was 19, that as a real estate agent you're kind of in control of your own destiny as well. And you're it's up to your activity, what you do. And so it was kind of independent contractor, right? You're not working you know in at a coffee shop, you're not working at a Chipotle, you're not working in an office with a salary. You're working purely on commission, right? And so as a real estate agent, I could work purely for commission, and it was just different. And so you kind of learn, you could get a check for $5,000, you could get a check for $20,000, right? It really depends on, you know, your activity, and luck's involved. There's a lot of factors involved in it, but um, just right circumstances of people needing to sell and calling you and trusting you. And then it's your job to get it marketed, negotiate the offers, and all of the good stuff as a work. But it's not you checking in anywhere, right? So I think segueing into that really helped me with my you know time management, to getting paid and having a reward system, right? Because I think one of the hardest things with starting a business is there's no income. And so it's a lot of people, what I've been reading, some startups, they've been startup SASA, whatever, a SaaS program, and they have no customers, right? Where I have my real estate OS, and we're over 20,000 ARR, annual revenue, 20,000 since I started, and I haven't been doing any marketing whatsoever for that. I'm purely just focusing on sphere of influence for now, while I'm, building up more systems and processes. So I want to get, the real estate team solid first before I build out real estate OS systems for acquiring customers and everything else, right? But this isn't the topic for that. So the topic is, work ethic and productivity hacks, right? So, once you start getting paid, it's a lot easier to, wake up and do the work, right? So I get paid as that. Then I decide to go and quit my real estate career and do marketing. And I started doing marketing to specific neighborhoods and hand addressing envelopes myself. And basically how that worked was it was purely focused on me and my effort. My actions was my reward, right? And so, by doing that, I was working a ton of hours, right? I was working from, the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. Just hand addressing envelopes, stamping them, stuffing them, sealing them. And so I did that for a few months, and it was pretty good. I made more money doing that than I did in my real estate sales business. But I was like, okay, that's all dependent on me. Now, how do I go and be my own boss? So my idea was to start my own buyer team, which it was okay. I mean, it didn't go anywhere because I didn't have the systems to recruiting, but it was a good start for what I wanted to do. And so it got me, my foot in the door in other places, but it taught me, I started studying. So when I started studying the business, that's where I got there. So my headphones are beeping in my ear, they're about to die, so let me swap them out real quick.
Absolutely. Go ahead and swap those out. And it's really interesting to hear that whole journey you have from trying to find your own work rhythm as a young entrepreneur to figuring out what actually motivated you and how to build that discipline. It's a pretty big shift going from a structured environment to being your own boss and having to create your own systems of reward. So it's awesome to see how that evolved for you. And I'm glad you're sharing it. Once you got your headphones back on, we can get going.
Yeah, so I got my headphones back. So basically, once I, started growing that, then I got to the point of, now, once I got enough knowledge on how to run a buyer team and just a sales team in general, which took me to, the whole system of the team structure, now it's easy to be productive, right? So I think the productivity hack is, the Tom Brady method, is being so overly prepared for something where you're kind of just, it's easy. Like, you're going to go in and win because you're over prepared, right? So now that I'm over prepared for my job, I know all this technical work, I know my way around ChatGPT, 38,000 messages with chat last year, gave me the confidence to be very productive, right? Come up with an idea, I can go build it. If I need to code a website, I can go code the website. So I think, my productivity hack is really just be super talented and super, hardworking and, do all that. And I think, this is going to sound stupid, but I got this from John Jones, who's the greatest fighter of all time. And basically, that guy would stay out all night before every fight. He would go party, go do his crazy stuff, but he would come the next day as the greatest of all time. So earlier in my career, when I started being very productive, I was staying up all night long, playing video games. And now I do the same thing. It's because I can stay up all night, and when I wake up, it's like Mozart painting a picture. The amount of stuff I can roll out of bed and just build or think of in my head to build for the next day and plan it out, and then go execute it, it's like, holy crap. And my builds are only getting better and better. So it's phenomenal. We'll talk about that next, my builds. This is the end of this, so we'll end it here.